No, I'm good. Like, who was that? What's up, everybody? My name's Nick.
And my name is Josh.
And we're here to give you
a reality check.
Period. You're probably wondering, what's a reality check? Well, if you're a fan of all things reality TV, from Survivor, Big Brother, The Challenge, RuPaul's Drag Race, and everything in between, we're here to give you that reality check on all things reality TV. So grab a seat, grab a snack. Let's jump into episode 9.
Let's
Survivor.
get it.
This hair is a paid actor. So, episode 9 of Survivor. Crazy episode.
Crazy episode.
I think I put this in probably the top 3 most hectic of this season.
It was all over the place. We were jumping left, right, up, down. It was, nobody knew who was going to get home. That's what the episode felt like.
That's what my brain felt like the whole episode. It was like such high highs, such low lows, such like crazy in betweens. Like there was people split in pairs, there was new twists, there was new challenges. So we're gonna get into all of it, and I want to start by just this iconic line that just rolls off the tongue of Gata Got GOT.
Gata Got
one Sam.
GOT.
Yeah.
I mean, Gata Got GOT with Sam. Honestly, perfect line for the situation he was in. Gata Got GOT. They were blindsided.
Yeah, all of them. All of the Gata members except one were not in on last week's tribal. So I think that his feelings of kind of like, what the F, are like totally valid.
So justified.
Yeah.
How do you feel about Sierra being the first jury member, the boot? They got it gone.
Yeah, she got got. I mean,
she got got. Do you think that she gotta go or no?
I think she don't gotta stay. So we said it last episode. If you want to hear our thoughts about Sierra's exit, I think you should go see our last episode. Mm-hmm. I think that she was giving ice cold juror stare. She was like, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. We will get into our opinions of Sierra as a juror because she still has a moment.
She has a moment.
Episode. But I just want to talk about the idea of like the players who have nothing to lose. Sam has now, that was his last kind of tether to the larger majority. So he's like, game on.
He said free agent because at the end of the day, Andy flipped. Rachel was blindsided. His number 1 is gone. Yeah. What is he going to do? If I was him, I would target whoever I could target. Who's the bottom length or who's the strongest man?
Whoever's available is like who we're coming after.
Mm-hmm.
And on the flip side of Sam, who has literally just had everything ripped out from under him, you have who we thought was going to be his like ride or die through the merge, Andy, who's now kind of, I don't want to say sitting pretty, but definitely sitting way prettier than Sam.
Oh, well, if I was Andy, I'd be sitting pretty when you did a flip or move and now you've got the majority on your side. I mean, at the end of the day, from where Andy started, I'm happy where he is. Is it good for his relationships moving forward, knowing that...
Yeah. You know what happens to flippers? They get flopped.
Oh.
Damn.
I mean...
It's crazy that just from an editing perspective, the difference on Andy is crazy. The edit feels almost supportive of Andy, hopeful for his turnaround. You can see that Andy is really kind of pushing this narrative of like his journey, his like emotional journey on the game, and I think the edit is now finally starting to like match that pace instead of making fun of him for it. It's like embracing it.
Listen, I wrote it down right here. God, I love Andy. Write that story, because right in that last confessional, he said, I'm finally in a position where I can write my own story. And honestly, it's true. I'm here for it, Andy. Go off. You better write that story.
And that's what Survivor is all about. I mean, Survivor is about paving your own kind of way, figuring out how you want to navigate the game. And they're navigating in such a way that now we might finally have the power duo of Andy and Rachel,
which I wanted to touch base on. Talking about Rachel, she discussed her moment of playing the shot in the dark at Tribal to try to get reactions. So strategic,
gorgeous,
so strategic,
beautiful.
Something that we haven't seen in this new era. Have a shot in the dark used that way. I'm so looking forward to seeing Andy and Rachel actually work together this time because you know
it's been like wrong place, wrong time. Like kind of like a couple that's like they see each other at the coffee shop. One of them's in a relationship, the other one's single, and then they switch. So it's been like this weird kind of dynamic of like they weren't ready to come together, but I feel like they're finally at that point.
He started from waking her up in the middle of the night, having anxiety attacks and having a moment to
that little montage.
Yes, exactly. And now here they are, and they're ready to make a move. And I'm here for it. I'm ready to see. They have a mutual target.
Yeah.
That target's Kyle.
The last thing that I want to touch on before we kind of jump to the tree mail challenge portion of the episode was the fact that Sam deserves an Oscar for his award-winning performance to the remaining Lavo members.
Oh, 100%. He's
like, water under the bridge, don't even worry about it. Like, it's totally bygones be bygones. And then his confessional is like, bro.
Yeah, no, I literally wrote down Sam Vendetta against Lavo. Like,
yeah, so
he's coming for them.
I was happy to see that. Like, you see a lot in the new era, kind of this like amicableness, this like very like just water off a duck's back, roll it off your shoulders, whatever. But I love when people are petty as hell. Like,
can we rewind? Water off a duck's back? Mm-hmm. Where is this saying coming from?
It was popularized by one Jinx Monsoon on season 5 of RuPaul's Drag Race.
Oh, okay.
So maybe you should know your culture.
Listen, the last thing I wrote down in that little section right before the challenge is everybody is shady. Because Sam was being shady, Kyle was being shady, everybody in their confessionals was being shady.
It's like the era
Shadalina Marie.
Everybody is just like ready, knives out. Like it's kind of like they have the knife and they're like, oh, whatever. So it's like they're ready to strike, and I think that people are they're hearing that clock towards the end of the game in their head. So
I mean, wouldn't you? At this point, you can kind of feel. Yeah, we're in final 10.
There's a juror now. Like
exactly,
it's real. Yeah. It's real.
No, but it is real.
Yeah.
So we dive into Teeny going to get the tree mail. You want to lead us through that? Teeny getting the tree mail we're looking forward to this upcoming challenge.
So, as we all know, the challenges are my favorite part of the episode. And I love when they open it with a tree mail. I love when the editing and the producers give us the same experience as the castaways. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. I mean, except for the fact that Survivor Production keeps posting so much of the spoilers on their Instagram. It's fine. That they give up their own twists before the episode happens. But hey, who am I? But no, I loved it. So Teeny comes out with this tree mail, and they read the riddle about pairs and duos and, all that kind of stuff. So immediately everybody's like, pairs, like you have to pair up. What would be your strategy going into a pairing?
I would go the strategy that Sam went, which is I'm going to pick somebody that I know will help me through the pair, but someone that I know I can beat when it goes to the individual portion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a great strategy. The pettiness in me would want to like pick somebody that I'm gunning for.
Oh.
Just so I could put the nail in the coffin of being like,
The thing is, they don't know necessarily. I mean, like, us as viewers, we can guess that it's going to then turn into an individual.
Yeah, it's all an assumption. Yeah, it's all an assumption that they're going to have to go against each other at the end because there is only one winner. So that's kind of the deduction of that. So, but I think it was interesting to see how the pairs kind of fell.
So the pairs went Gabe Kyle, Sam Andy, Caroline Rachel, Sue Genevieve, Soul Teeny. I like the pairs. I didn't have anything bad to say against
I don't have anything bad to say. I was surprised with the fact that Caroline and Sue weren't together.
I was the same way. I thought that maybe Rachel and Genevieve would have been paired together.
And knowing Andy's history in a challenge,
this is a huge early setback.
I would want to be as far away from Andy in a group dynamic as possible.
At this point, Tuku is the only people that have held on to that immunity necklace. I want to go Sue or Kyle.
Yeah,
I would pick one of the two. I mean, Sue won, Kyle won 2. Maybe this would be his 3rd. Our man Andy
lovely Andy.
I'm not going to blame it all on Andy because Andy and Sam were both
on that bag.
Listen, Andy was trying to get it. They weren't trying to dig as much as they were trying to pull, which unfortunately went against them. And
I've never seen a Survivor Challenge rip like that, like a bag.
Did you see Jeff's face? He was like. Oh
that's
wow!
On you. Like that's on you.
Like you gotta finish it. You gotta finish it.
The only time I've ever seen a challenge break was season 45 when Jake stepped on it.
Well, that was just out of frustration. Yeah, like that was on purpose. Yeah. This was an accident.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the challenge a little bit. I have a question. the first two pairs, the first 4 people to get out lose their vote. A twist
on top of a twist.
Yeah. Which 47 is notorious for at this point.
Jeff loves to steal people's votes at this point.
Because
it's like the Grinch stole Christmas. Jeff stole votes.
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about the constant in and out of how many people have a vote, and it changes the dynamic of like the minorities that you need to like force a blindside, like all that kind of stuff. I think it's an interesting twist for this challenge specifically, because it incentivizes you to work even harder as a team. And we saw that only 1 out of the 4 on the journey ended up losing their vote, so I thought it was good.
I don't hate. I mean, like, if all 4 lost their vote, in a final 10, that's kind of hard to then narrow down who you're voting for. Yeah. But in the sense of somebody losing a vote so far, at this point, the last time everybody's had their vote has been the Asia vote, which has been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a while since every single person has been able to vote. I don't hate the fact that somebody...
was episode 3.
I know.
Episode 9.
Yeah, but I don't hate that because it makes you have to be even more strategic. You need to have better relationships. You need to have a social game. Adaptability. I'm here for it.
Yeah, I mean, I like it when it's not so...
It's continuously incorporated.
It's like the lose your vote used to be a punishment for journeys, and then it was like if your beware advantage didn't go through. So now it feels too common. It doesn't feel as as worrisome. Now they're always accounting for the fact someone might not have their vote. So I don't know. Continuing on to the challenge.
Continue on to the challenge. The 3 teams that made it through were Sue and Genevieve, Kyle, Gabe, and Saltini. Unfortunately, we did not have Caroline, Rachel, or Sam and Andy.
Yeah.
I was so happy when Sue came and clutched that last little second for her and Genevieve.
Yeah.
I jumped in the air and I started screaming. I was so happy for them.
I love seeing the kind of the underdog teams that people write off right at the beginning. Because even me, I was like, oh, Sam and Andy are already digging. Like, they got it in the bag, but they just couldn't get the bag out.
They couldn't.
So, what a fumble. First of all, what a fumble. But it goes to the testament of like you are never truly out of a challenge until Jeff calls it,
True.
So you never know.
True.
But I loved that moment for Sue. Obviously we're big Sue fans here.
This next part of the challenge, the puzzle stairs.
Yeah.
Basically, it's the 3 teams, the first 2 teams to get up the puzzle stairs and across a balance beam, down a slide, get to participate in the individual portion of this challenge. Yeah. On top of automatically earning themselves a feast, a reward.
Yeah, some BLTs.
Some sodas, and some chips. And honestly,
I love a multi-part challenge.
That reward, I'm fighting for that reward. Oh my God,
a BLT?
I love a BLT.
I love a BLT. I think that this more simplistic the food rewards are, I think the more people kind of love them. It's like, I don't even eat BLTs in my personal life. But it's like, when you throw a BLT at me on an island after 14 days and I haven't had one, oh my God, that sounds delicious. Right now. A little mayo,
gourmet,
some Dr. Pepper, like we're throwing it back. So I think it's interesting to see like what kind of gets them excited. I mean, we now know that Teeny has been on every single reward.
No, Teeny, what is your secret? Because how did you sneak your little way into every single reward? You must be.
It's impressive. Like Teeny actually tweeted, "Yes, I was worried about gaining weight. That's how many rewards I had been on. Like, that's insane. If
I was the other castaways, I would be gunning for Teeny strictly because I'm jealous that you've eaten food and I haven't.
And all that food, you have to wonder if it's gonna push Teeny ahead in the individual portions.
I mean,
so
listen, Teeny has been a great individual immunity contender. So, Teeny, you're doing something right. Although Sue and Genevieve were the first pair to get up this,
they crushed the puzzle.
They had a jumbo small, like they knew it. Their communication skills were amazing. Unfortunately, they couldn't get over the balance beam in time.
Not they.
They as the both
Genevieve. Sue was over. Not only did Sue get over, she swan dove.
She dove.
Yeah.
Listen,
I was worried. I was like, oh my god, and now we're gonna have a medical. Like Sue's
tough duck and roll because a tsunami is coming.
No, literally, she jumped on the tsunami and rode it all the way to the platform.
She really did.
And it is what it is. The other teams ended up catching up to them and just full sending the balance beam.
Did you see Kyle and Gabe?
Oh my god, they walked like there was no balance beam.
They didn't even walk. They sprinted. Like, have you seen the videos of those firefighters and they like have to run over and throw the hoses and sprint and then? No, the people who are up late at night at 2 a.m. and they're randomly scrolling. Okay, regardless, basically they ran over those balance beams so fast. I was impressed.
I think that's really the only thing that like got them was Genevieve. I think just got in her head about the height.
Yeah.
And the net, like if you do that balance beam on the ground, whoop, you're right over it. So
for sure.
Kudos to them. So we end up having our final four who are going to be kind of individually battling now against each other, which is Soul, Teeny, Kyle, and Gabe. Kyle has now been a contender for every single immunity necklace. A threat.
Capital THREAT. Threat. Yes, I can spell.
You know what threat has in it? Eat.
Oh, and what did he do? Ate that reward.
Yeah, they ate that. Which I think it's a really interesting dynamic for thinking ahead towards the reward. When this final four was kind of finalized, I was like, oh, that's going to be an interesting reward to see, like, what are Teeny and Gabe going to talk about? What are Kyle and Teeny going to talk about,
Yeah.
So it was interesting to see that. This is one of the most blood-curdling, toe-curling, like, sweat-inducing, lower back cramping moment as a viewer. Just sitting at home.
That is one, and the best thing, at least for the competitors who are going for that individual immunity, and I don't know if this is going to work for them or against them, you can't see what anybody else's facial expressions are. You don't know who's in pain. You don't know who's about to fall or who's not. Can you withstand and can you push yourself past getting to the end? And listen, there was 4 little ledges.
Part of me that likes that and part of me that hates it. Like,
as a viewer, I love it. As a contender,
as the viewer, we're not deprived of anything. But as a competitor, it's like the only person at that point, like, you're fighting 3 other people, but the only person that you're fighting is yourself. Like, it's so easy to be like, ooh, this hurts, I'm done.
Yeah.
So I just think it would be interesting. It's just tough. Like, it's part of me wants to see it, but the other part of me is like, it speaks to their willpower of like, if they can really just push, not knowing,
I mean, it's true. So
because sometimes seeing that struggle pushes that person 5 more seconds. It's like,
Yeah. So for the immunity challenge individual portion, there's 4 little pegs, and every 10-15 minute increments, they have to move down and it gets smaller and smaller. But you're basically inside of a box. You're holding on, keeping yourself up, but standing on the pegs. And
this challenge is as old as Survivor. This is like a Survivor classic challenge. So it's always interesting to see how they fare. And I always think that it's got to be even tougher for the men because just, anatomically, men tend to have bigger feet. Yeah. And these pegs, whether you have Sue's size child's 5 or Kyle's size 13 foot, it's the same width of that peg, So it's always interesting to see kind of if it's going to be will, if it's going to be size, if it's going to be, all these different factors.
I felt like the person who had the biggest disadvantage in that challenge was Soul. He's a stocky guy. It is
Soul is dense. But you know what? He also meditates every day. I was banking on Soul because he can kind of like. I felt like he was just kind of like gonna zone in and
get his chakra, his inner chakras in.
Yeah, get his Zen on, align his chakras. Yeah, but he didn't.
He did well. Listen,
they
all of them got down to the 3rd leg, and it wasn't until like right before, like not too long before they were about to do that final transition. TD and Soul basically went out bang, seconds away from each other.
And they didn't even like go out. Their bodies gave out. Like they were just like,
I mean, listen, they were holding themselves up there for like 30 minutes at that point. Like, your body's gonna give.
Yeah,
it is what it is. We have a standoff between Kyle and Gabe, 2 former Tukus.
They were also paired in the challenge.
They were paired in the challenge.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for Gabe. You're rooting for Kyle?
I was rooting for Sue. I was rooting for Teeny, if we're being honest. I mean, look, I just love the iconicness of if Kyle was going to win it, you know.
For the continuation.
Just the continuation to have it. I mean, I'm happy that Gabe won it. You know, give them a little differentiation.
Am I happy?
I'm just...
I stood up, cheered, screamed, made a video, and let everybody know that I was ecstatic that Gabe Ortiz won individual immunity. Yeah. Gabe was not going home. Gabe was protecting Sue. He's protecting Caroline.
There are things I like about Gabe. There are strategic moves that I like about Gabe. But other than those, like, I don't know what it is about me that there's just like that little bit of arrogance and that little bit of smugness when it comes to Gabe. Like, he did his little celebration dance. You know, he did his little 1, his little 2.
Listen, don't come at his celebration dance. Listen, that was the Ray Lewis. He was holding it back for Baltimore.
Listen, I know. I know what it was. I know who it was. I know why it was.
Listen, you go, Gabe. Don't let anybody come for you. You ate that, and I know that you don't let anybody come for you because he be clapping back.
On Twitter, I'm scared. Like, I'm scared to tweet about Gabe on Twitter because, like,
I'm not. I tweet about you every day. I let him know that I'm here for you, Gabe.
Going?
He's retweeting me.
One thing about us is we're active on Twitter, so definitely check out our Twitters.
I know that's right.
So, challenge wraps up.
Gabe wins.
We have a winner in Gabe. We get his little 1-2 number, 1-2 step. And it's
Dancing with the Stars. You better come for him next.
Yeah, it's little Dancing with the Stars number, and it's time to have some BLTs.
BLTs. So
Do you like a BLT?
I love a BLT.
I don't. I like in my personal. I don't really like thick slices of tomato, personally, unless it's like on a cheeseburger. But I like. I'll eat one. You know, I like a BLT, but like with like also ham. You know, like more of like a ham club and some cheese. Like a ham and cheese with bacon and lettuce.
Okay, so now you're just like, so basically you don't want a BLT.
I'm on a new diet, I'm starving.
Yeah, so basically you want a sandwich with lettuce, tomato, onion. Like, okay.
A hoagie. I'll take a hoagie.
It's called a sub. That's a fight for another day. So we have the no votes, we have the rewards, and
then we have Sue and Genevieve.
Sue and Genevieve, who Sue and Genevieve.
Go back to the camp.
They go back to camp. We have a little breakdown. We have, you know, the reward people are talking. We have the Sue Genevieve talk. We have the no voters going on their journey, doing their thing. How do we feel about the BLT club, the awards, the conversations? They're all basically gunning for.
They're all real comfy and cozy, burping up a storm.
Yeah, they're ready to vote a threat out. They're ready for Gabe or Sam.
Yeah. I mean, well,
no, they're not for Gabe.
Gabe was there.
Yeah, well, they did have a mutual conversation that, you know, they didn't really want Gabe there.
I think that it's really interesting to see the conversations that are always had, because they're always going, whether it's reward, whether it's a journey, whether it's, you know, they're just hanging out at the shelter. Like, the strategy talk is always going. But what's interesting to me is that they don't know who's going to be eligible, who's going to have what other plans, who's going to even have a vote.
Who has an idol.
So sometimes I think for me, it's like, just enjoy your BLTs. Yeah, talk about it a little bit, but just enjoy your sandwiches. Like, there's so much up in the air still about tonight's vote that it's kind of like the point is kind of moot because, like,
no, I get that. I mean, like, we're at the point where in Final 10, you know, disconnect from the game from the moment that you do. At this point, they're all together all the time. And
they're only 4. It's not like they were holding a majority and could just decide.
Yeah.
You know, so I thought it was interesting that they would dive so deep into their personal strategies, but...
I mean, talking about Gabe was good. I mean, talking about Sam was good for them because you had 2 Tukus, 2 Lavos. They just targeted Gata. Yep. Why not keep the train moving? And I understand they could have talked a little bit more, but I think, like you said, everybody kind of also has their own side plans happening, and
like we saw with Genevieve, keeping that train moving. Genevieve became the conductor.
One thing about Genevieve is we're gonna name her like Genius Genevieve or something, like
Mastermind
GG,
Genevieve, the puppet master.
It doesn't stop. she has a list of who she wants out,
her hit list.
she's gunning for them. I didn't know how I was going to take Genevieve and Sue having a little moment.
Yeah, I was interested to see that because Sue, for the most part, we don't really see Sue or get confessionals of Sue unless she's like found an idol or it's tied to the original Tuku members. Like,
for sure,
we don't get to see a lot of just like Sue's thoughts.
Sue's loyal to her Tuku.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I think a lot of her strategic point of views have stayed the same.
Yeah.
So we don't really see a lot of like what's going on in her mind. So it was good to kind of see that she was up there in the same kind of strategic levels as Genevieve, because Genevieve is playing hard.
Listen, like, at this point, we can all agree Genevieve is right now the front runner. She like, if you take her challenge performances out, like strategically, socially, I think she's a front runner. She's playing a great game.
I mean, I think she's a very strong contender for the win. I do think, though, we even saw Kyle say it in this episode, I didn't really think of her as a thinker, as a strategic player in this game. So I think as she builds more steam and as she commands more votes, that light's going to go off in a lot of people's heads. Like, wait, the Rome vote, the Keyshawn vote, the Soul vote, she started all of them.
And she's cannibalizing her own tribe.
I think
that's all Lava members.
I think that's the reason that she's kind of been able to stay under the radar for so long, because when she is swinging big, it's for kind of public enemies or for people that she was assumed to have been working with.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, Genevieve would never want Soul out. They're working together. They were on Lava together, you know? So it's interesting to see how, like you said, she's kind of cannibalizing her own team.
I mean, and she even said during the episode, swinging for Soul is either going to be one of the greatest moves in the game, and I'm losing my allyship with Teenie.
Yeah.
Or everything's going to backfire, and I've just tanked my game. One or the other. And, I mean, she's doing a great job playing.
Oh, shit, I can't believe that just worked.
No. We are going to get there. We're going to get there. We're going to get there. So, keeping this train moving, we go to the no vote crew, the little journey that they go on.
Our journey,
the Gata plus Caroline.
Yes. They drop him off at some other part of the island, whether it's just the backside or a different island altogether. I'm not really sure. And it's a very simple game. It's kind of like reverse Jenga.
Yeah.
The funny thing is, my mom said that, and she goes, oh, they're like doing like reverse Jenga. That's funny. And then they get back to camp and Sam says the same thing. We played like reverse Jenga. My mom was like, so it was interesting to see that they would put a no vote kind of up to such a remedial game.
I mean, I think there was so much already happening,
Yeah.
I was happy that it wasn't too
I was expecting
intense.
Like a bag, like rock draw. They should have just done like a rock draw.
I mean, something new. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah.
I saw that the pieces were purple for the
imagine
tribe.
it was like rock, paper, scissors tournament. Like,
that would have been,
could you imagine?
That would have been crazy.
I would have loved an element of like 2 1v1s and then
a 1v1.
Like a champion tournament, you know? I would have liked that little element to kind of like,
change things up.
Yeah, so.
Listen, they were still being strategic while, I don't know if you noticed, but when they were playing on the edge and
Caroline's block placement was shady as hell.
They knew what they were doing. Unfortunately for Caroline, she tried to block and she got blocked.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about Caroline is her continuous positive mindset, whether it's Sue found an idol, or someone got blindsided, or she was left out of it, or the tower crumbled on her. She's literally saying to Rachel, "Oh, that was such a good placement." She is a people person. For their vote, I love it. She's just so in love with the game.
She's supportive. Yeah. We love a supportive person.
Caroline, I'm gonna be so honest with you. In the beginning of this game, we kind of wrote you off.
We did.
But right before the merge, I was kind of like, wait, this girl's kind of iconic. You're climbing to mother status.
No.
You're not there yet, but you're climbing.
Listen, she's definitely daughter to the mother.
No, she's giving mother, but she isn't mother yet.
Yeah.
So, journey wraps up, reward wraps up. Everybody is now back on one beach. They're fed, they're not fed, they're voteless. A lot goes down.
It's
like, boom. You know, like
talk about an explosion. Talk about a live tribal before we even get to tribal.
Yeah.
Because it is just names thrown left and right. Are we going Sam? Are we going Kyle? Are we going Sue? Are we going...
Everything was pretty chill. They had this plan to blindside Soul. It was totally fine.
Orchestrated by Genius Genevieve.
Yeah, orchestrated by Puppet Master Mashalik. And
you ate that.
So they had this lovely plan, and Genevieve decides we need one more. Let me bring in Rachel. She's been on the bottom. She's really kind of neat. She needs a hand. You know, let me lift her up in this moment. Tells her about the plan, and immediately Rachel goes, "Hey, Sam." So, boom. And then Sam is like, y'all remember last night?
He said, I'm going to blow everybody's spot up.
You guys remember who you sent to the jury first? Oh, get ready.
Yeah.
And it's just all hell breaks loose. It goes from Soul to Sam to Kyle to Sue, back to Soul, back to Sue, back to Soul, back to Sue. And
back to Kyle.
Back to Kyle, back to Sam, Andy.
While the sun is setting and they're grabbing their torches, you see everybody all talking.
We've never seen strategy talks this dark. Like, that just really goes to show you how late they were pushing the clock.
I want to know.
Because if you never realized, they go to tribal once the sun sets. So that was something I didn't realize until, like, well, a few seasons in when I was watching it as a kid. I was like, oh, they go when the sun sets. So if you didn't realize that, that's just a fun little tidbit. But they're waiting, and they're kind of waiting out the sun and trying to get in as many conversations before it ducks behind the ocean. Like, and it's stressful. Like, and then it's getting dark. You can't see anybody. Now these conversations are harder to see. Like, I'm getting, like, my heart is racing right now just talking about it.
Because it was a moment that was just full of anxiety, angst. Yeah. What is going on? Nobody actually knew what was happening.
Yeah, and kudos to production, kudos to editing. The way that they're literally in the middle of conversation and the screen just goes dark. And Genevieve, all you hear is Genevieve saying, like, and there's still so many questions we have yet to answer, and it goes dark. I was like, you know, like, I was fangirling. Like, I was like, that was iconic, you know, but it's crazy. It's just so crazy. And they get to tribal. And as the viewer now, we also feel like that clock ran out on us.
Yeah. Like, who is it going to be finally?
Yeah.
While we're at tribal, Jeff's asking questions directly to people. Even Teeny is having a whisper conversation happening with Sam while Jeff is talking to Teeny.
You know it's serious. You know it's serious when they're not even paying attention.
Teeny goes, I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? Because Teeny had not one clue what was going on.
You could feel, even sitting at home, you could feel the tension of this tribal. And all that they were waiting for was someone to pull the pin. And Soul did it. He gets up and boom.
Live tribal we have.
Again, it's, you stay with... We're good. It's from across. We're good. Don't play it. You know, like, you know, so like all of this stuff. I'm sweating. My hands are sweating because Sue.
My fingernails are gone. Bit them all off.
Sue, for the first time since episode 2, is now being discussed as someone to go home, which no. So
I'm like, Sue, play your item. Sue, play your item.
Literally, I'm screaming at my TV. You know, so like.
Also, let's have a moment to recognize. First of all, we have juror walk-ins back.
Yes, we asked for that. We asked for that.
Yes.
Expectations for the season.
Yes.
I was like, oh, okay, girl, period.
And not only did she walked in fierce with a cold stone face, and she let everybody know that she was still I mean, granted, you just lost your dreams 24 hours ago.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I am all here for that face. She served it. She gave it.
And it's the jury's job not to give anything away. You don't want to be overly joyful or, like, you know, let them know that you like what they just said, you know. So kudos to her. I think it's tough. It's got to be tough to be a juror because you're sitting there now as a third party watching what everybody else gets to do that you don't. You know,
yeah, and you also have, like, the ability to think about, if I did one move differently, would I still be there? Who would be here?
And then you're kicking yourself like, oh my God, they went for Soul. Why wouldn't they have, you know? So it's those moments of, like, coulda, shoulda, woulda.
I mean, to be honest, let's call a spade a spade. Kyle should have been the vote to go.
Oh my God, yeah.
Kyle should. This man is a challenge. He's putting himself to be a challenge legend right now.
This vote was entirely dictated by pettiness and personal vendettas.
For sure.
That's all it came down to with this vote. Sam could have had an easy ride into the next episode with everybody else and just blindsided Soul, which again was just a personal vendetta orchestrated by Genevieve.
Yeah.
It was just a personal thing. She was like, well, you blew up my game with Rome, so you're done. The clock has run out on Soul. You're done. And it's just like, Genevieve, you haven't won individual immunity yet either. So now you're still going to be fighting against Kyle.
Yeah.
Like, it makes no sense. If you want to, at least from the perspective of the remaining Lava members, Teeny, Soul, Genevieve, not voting out Kyle allows them to continue to have the majority over Gata.
Yes.
If that's what they were going to do.
Yes.
But they were all just like, oh my God, we totally forgot we were even in an alliance. Let's go for Soul. Like,
I think that I don't even know why Genevieve decided that she was. I mean, granted, she had she was gunning for Soul low key on the underlines, but like, girl, like,
I just don't understand.
He wasn't your biggest threat right now. Like, you had bigger fish to fry, and you just chose to fry
a bigger vegan fish.
A bit,
like
bit,
not anymore. Gag. I just don't understand the timing. Like, yeah, okay, Soul is charming. Soul has a lot of friendships on the island. He's really nice. Okay, so is Teeny. So is Kyle. So is Rachel. So is Andy. All of these people follow under the same criteria, other than the fact that you're petty.
Yeah, I mean, like, granted, Soul's a threat, but he wasn't the biggest threat in that moment. There was a time for him to go. I don't think his time was then.
They should have saved Soul if they really wanted him out for next week and gone for Kyle.
They should have waited to see who was going to win individual immunity next week. They should, like you said, got out Kyle. And guess what? If, as much as I love Gabe, if Gabe or Sam didn't win immunity, I would have went for one of those two.
Right.
Listen, there's so many if, ands, buts that could have happened. Yeah. Unfortunately, our guy Soul got his torch snuffed. And the 9th person voted out of
and our
Survivor
second
47.
jury member.
Our second jury member.
It's crazy to think that, like, it's wrapping up. Like, it's getting close to the end. Sure, there's however many jury members, and there's only 2 of them so far, but it's like,
we're in final 9.
Up. Yeah, like, it's final 9.
We're officially, the cast is officially cut in half.
Yeah, we are halfway through the entire season of Survivor 47. And honestly, it's like, it's just every episode is...
It's nail-biting.
It's nail-biting. It's exciting. And it's like, I get excited for next week. Like, we will text each other and we'll be like, oh my God, it's only Friday. Like, it's only Monday. Like,
This was one of those episodes where right when we saw the credits and the sneak peeks for next week's episode, I was like, skip, like, yes, still watching. Let's go right to the episode. Yeah. Like, there is so much, because they left on such a juicy tribal, and when you have a juicy
tribal convos are going to be nuts.
Yeah, I'm ready to see what the start of next episode is going to be like. It is. Let me tell you one thing. Rachel is not looking good. She spilled the beans to Sam. She kind of started the same explosion. She kind of
shot herself in the foot.
Yeah, I mean, she just tarnished her relationship with Genevieve. Genevieve's not going to want to work with you anymore, which then kind of coincides with you're stuck with Sam. Sam's not going to be...
Sam doesn't really care about you.
Listen,
Sam's a free agent. Andy is torn on his hair. Like,
Andy's with Genevieve and Teeny and all of them, so Andy's got...
It's a mess. There's only a few...
Gata Got GOT.
Yeah, there's only a few things that we are sure of next episode, and one of them is that Sue still has an idol, and she's still mother.
And she's still mother. A mother quake is coming.
Before we wrap up, I want final thoughts on Soul. How did you feel about Soul as a whole? Did he reach his goal?
Soul.
He wasn't playing the mole.
Listen, one thing about Soul is he came in this game and he never gave up. There were people that were coming for him. He had to deal with the whole Rome situation at camp.
Yeah.
He wasn't blessed by the Survivor gods. He made good moves. He helped out allies. He really played a good, loyal game to the people that he wants to work with. And I am so excited that I think he's going to be back on our TV screens. He played a great game. I loved him.
I loved Soul. Soul actually really changed my perspective of how you can play Survivor.
Mm-hmm.
I like, other than the fact that I literally am just obsessed with him, I think he's beautiful. He really
You are beautiful.
He really did kind of like shed a new light on the way that patience and kind of like self-awareness can propel you in the game. Because you put a lot of people up next to what he dealt with in the early days of Lavo, there would have been much more interesting TV.
Oh,
Listen,
there would have been physical altercation.
So I think that his ability to be zen and kind of tone it in really propelled him, and it let people come to him. Oh, I know Stahl's, he's steady. He's level-headed. So I wish that we got a little bit more strategic Soul earlier and that it worked out for him, because I was really rooting for you, Soul. Big fan. And we look forward to having you on the pod.
Listen, yes.
Everybody on season 47 has a seat at the table. Okay, come on up. We're hosting Thanksgiving. Okay.
Yes, we are.
But yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm excited. I give him the call for Survivor 50, please. You want to talk about joyful? That man had nothing but bullshit to deal with.
Well, there you have it. That's your reality check of episode 9, season 47. We had a snuff torch by our good man Soul. You will be definitely missed.
We'll always be Soul's secret agents.
We love you, Soul, so much.
And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.